Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack how the incredibly ancient game of chess holds some genuinely profound, dynamic lessons for navigating the sheer chaos of our everyday lives. Now, from the outside looking in, chess might just seem like a traditional, maybe somewhat stuffy board game that tests pure intellect, right? Like something they've been teaching in schools for generations. But as we dig into our source material today, you'll see this game is way deeper than just a simple test of wits. It actually holds a mirror up to reality itself. If we really pay attention to the mechanics on the board, we can extract some absolutely game-changing philosophical tools for our own lives. So, our analysis today is broken down into 6 key areas: the language of numbers in chess, the importance of daily review, adapting to constant change, the philosophy of sacrifice, the power of openings, and finally, patience as a key to success. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the language of numbers in chess. Let's dive into this first concept, because to truly grasp the lessons of this game, you first have to understand the mind-bending statistical reality of the environment it operates in. Okay, think about this for a second. After just the very first move by both players, there are exactly 400 possible ways the board can look. You have 20 possible ways to open, and your opponent has 20 possible ways to respond. So 20 multiplied by 20 gives us 400 totally unique variations, literally right out of the gate. But here's where things get wild. This perfectly illustrates how fast things escalate, because after the second move from both players, that number violently explodes to 197,742 possibilities. This is the exact moment where most people realize, wait, chess isn't just something you can memorize. The permutations grow so incredibly fast that human prediction just fails almost immediately. And by move 50, we're talking about possibilities in the millions. Actually, some even say there are more possible games of chess than there are atoms in the observable universe, which naturally brings up a massive question. How on earth can anyone possibly master a system with infinite, totally unpredictable variations? Well, our source points out that this directly mirrors our real lives. Every single day, you face thousands of decisions, each one branching off into new probabilities that can absolutely make or break your day. So how do we get better at playing this incredibly complex game of life? That brings us to Section 2, the importance of daily review. Amidst all this chaos, we discover that the true secret to improvement is mindful daily review. In the chess world, this is known as a game review. This is crucial. A person who blindly plays chess for 20 years will easily, and I mean easily, be defeated by someone who has only played for 1 year but takes the time to conduct an analytical game review after every single match. The source heavily emphasizes that without studying your moves and your opponent's moves after the game is over, improvement is literally impossible. You've got to look back and see exactly where you could have won or exactly where you started to lose so you don't make that same blunder next time. So, how do we translate this to your real life? You've got to review your day by writing in a journal. The source actually recommends using digital tools, like specific Notion templates, to create entries in the morning and the evening. The whole point is to pinpoint exactly where your choices started to go off track. And why writing? Because writing is the actual process of thinking. If you can physically write down the exact moment your day took a nosedive, well, suddenly you have the power to fix it. That right there is your personal game review. Moving on to Section 3, adapting to constant change. This is all about acknowledging that the board, exactly like life, is constantly shifting. Because there are millions of probabilities out there, assuming you can just rigidly map out a perfect path from start to finish is a massive trap. Trying to control unpredictable outcomes, that only leads to extreme stress. As our source notes, you simply cannot execute a fixed plan when the world is constantly moving around you. If you go into a match trying to force the exact same sequence of moves that won your last game, and your opponent does something slightly unexpected, you're going to lose. The world is built on unpredictability, so trying to control the uncontrollable is just a recipe for suffering. To survive all the unexpected curveballs, you've got to adopt what's called a dynamic goal. This means continuously adapting your strategy as your environment inevitably changes. In chess, yeah, you might start out with a really specific plan, but you have to be fully prepared to toss it out the window and shift tactics mid-game. If you don't adapt to the new reality on the board, it's game over. This kind of flexibility is exactly what separates the grandmasters from the amateurs. Which naturally transitions us to Section 4, the philosophy of sacrifice for the goal. Because, adapting often requires giving things up. This is easily one of the most captivating concepts in all of chess. Our source explicitly defines a sacrifice as intentionally giving up something of high value right now, strictly to secure a better future. But notice the critical requirement here. It absolutely demands having a clear vision of that future first. You can't possibly know what to sacrifice if you have no idea what outcome you're actually trying to achieve. The goal has to dictate the sacrifice.
A lot of beginners fall into the trap of fearfully protecting their queen at all costs, totally forgetting that the real goal is winning the game, not just hoarding the most powerful pieces. If you miss a brilliant checkmate just because you are too scared to lose your queen, you've failed. When you redefine your ultimate objective, you completely redefine the value of everything else on the board. But a quick warning here. Be incredibly careful, because an uncalculated sacrifice will lead to certain failure. If you just give up a valuable piece without deeply studying the board first, you're not sacrificing, you're just throwing away your resources. The source reminds us of philosophical cautionary tales, like the story of Cain and Abel, to hit this exact point home. A true sacrifice only works when it is deliberate, deeply studied, and perfectly aligned with your winning vision. All right, Section 5, the power of openings and morning routines. We know it's a game of millions of probabilities, so how do you keep from getting completely overwhelmed the absolute second the clock starts ticking? Well, players rely on memorizing established starting sequences, things like the London, the Indian, or the Spanish openings. By using these, new players don't have to calculate those millions of probabilities right at the start. When a beginner learns a solid opening, the game instantly becomes vastly simpler. They aren't burning out their mental energy overthinking the first 10 moves, because they're relying on a tested, proven sequence. And in your daily life, having a fixed morning routine serves as your own personal opening. It actually stops you from making wrong choices early on and sets a clear, winning trajectory for the rest of your day. Just think about it. If you make a sloppy choice the minute you wake up, that error compounds through those millions of daily probabilities, sending you totally down the wrong path. But if you have a rigid opening, waking up at a specific time, doing a specific routine, you automate the beginning of your day. It completely reduces anxiety, kills decision fatigue, and sets you up powerfully for whatever mid-game challenges pop up later. Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Patience as a Key to Success. This focuses on the single defining trait of all truly great chess players: deep, unshakable patience. Chess is definitely not a game for the rushed. Rushing basically ruins your opportunities on the board. It's exactly like starting a new business, which our source uses as a great analogy. In a startup, literally everything might fail for the first several months. You might face failure after failure and see absolutely zero results for a very long time. In those brutal moments, patience is literally the only tool keeping you in the game. If you can't endure those quiet, seemingly fruitless periods where you're just building your strategy, you're going to abandon the game right before the victory actually presents itself. And that brings us to what I think is the most empowering realization of this entire explainer. In chess, there is absolutely no luck. None. Zero. If you lose a game, it means that somewhere, at some very specific moment, you made a mistake. And because there's no luck involved, every failure is just a measurable misstep that you have to complete power to fix through your daily review. It's a system of total accountability, which actually gives you immense personal power. So, as we wrap things up today, I really want you to think about your own life. As you step out to face the millions of probabilities waiting for you tomorrow morning, what's your strategy going to be? Are you going to leave your opening moves completely to chance? Are you going to cling to pieces that you really should be sacrificing? Or will you start actively reviewing your board? The choices are infinite out there, but the strategy is entirely in your hands. Thanks for joining me today, and I challenge you to make your next move your absolute best one.